Tim Moss here again. Best time shop around. Working on the K5 again today. It's a Sunday. It's raining outside. I hate sitting around the house, so let's make a little progress on the old shop truck. Today we're going to start the metalwork. There's not a lot in this truck. We got very, very lucky. I searched around for a while trying to find a good solid truck, and this is the closest thing I could find, to solid in a 35-year-old truck that was meant to go off-road and get mud all in it. And anyway, they typically all rust, but this one wasn't that bad. We're going to address some of the issues. It's probably going to be a multi-day project, just because it's probably not all going to get done today. So let's show you what we're starting with here. So this is project number 1 of the metal repair. As you can see, something happened in this corner, most likely rust, and it just looks bad. I mean, I'm not going to take too much away from the guy that did it, because this wasn't like a show truck for him or anything. This was just a functional vehicle. It was probably rust. He covered it. It kept things from falling out and things from coming in. He did his job, but I'm known for metalwork and rust repair, and I just can't have that in my shop truck. So we're going to replace this section of floor. Also has a couple big holes right here. That was where the grease tank was at. This was originally a diesel that had a vegetable oil tank in the back, so going to get rid of that as well. And you can see there's something going on here. Probably another rust hole he covered. Yeah, so got to address that. And we're doing this first because, as you can see, this hump right here is the fuel filler neck, and I want to get all this stuff done before I put the fuel tank in, for obvious reasons. Now let me show you what we got here to work with. They don't make any kind of repair panel for this that I'm aware of. So we got this. This comes from our friends up at Auto Metal Direct. I'm so fortunate. These dudes are like 15 minutes up the road from me. Got really nice products. This is a bed floor repair panel for a regular C10 pickup truck. It's close. It's workable. You can see the ribs line up pretty much, except for these outer few ribs. The spacing's a little different. I've never noticed that, but you can see it's just a little different in the spacing. So I don't know how exactly I'm going to cut this up yet, but you can see it's going to be wide enough in the area. And I'm just going to splice a section in. Probably we got to get rid of this mess. Probably come to this ridge here, maybe, don't know. First things first, got to get all this old bed liner and seam sealer and whatever mess out of here. So here's a pro tip for you guys. Harbor Freight, the blue paddle grinders are awesome. These things, they work really well, and they're a fraction of the price of some of the real expensive DeWalt's and whatnot. I always use quarter ones because I always use these in the shop. And they're cheap enough that you can buy 3 and have 3 different wheels ready. So I got a wire, a flat disc, this one needs to be replaced, and a cutoff wheel. So there's no changing, right? So I'll come in first with this and clean everything up, and then cut it out with this or whatever, and then dress it with this. But I can have all 3 ready to go. No switching out arbors and flipping them around and losing this piece like we've all done. So having 3 ready to go is the trick, I'm telling you. And trick number 2, this guy right here, Harbor Freight 3-way splitter. Obviously, extension cord in, 3 grinders out. No swapping around cords and messing around and wasting time and wondering which one went where. You just keep all 3 plugged in. Use all 3 anytime you need to. So saves you a little bit of time, a little bit of headache. And when you spread the load out between all 3, they last longer. So something to think about. All right, back at you. Metalwork day 2 on the K5. Got some good work done. We'll see how the other clips come out. My battery died on here. Andrew came over, filmed with his camera. Still learning how to mix those things together. But let me just show you a little recap on what we got done. See, we got the floor patch in. Blended that in real well. Blended in. You can kind of see the taper of the floor pan, the rib difference like we talked before. this shape isn't quite as pronounced as the shape on the factory floor, but we kind of blended it into that section, made it look, real acceptable. Once we do a little bit of body work to it, a little bit of Raptor liner, it'll be great. Got her all in around the sides. This piece, the filler neck cover, before someone had hacked the bottom of this off and it was squared off and it looks terrible. This isn't finished yet, still got a little more welding and grinding to do, but you can kind of get the feel for it. I used part of the extra floor pan piece to create a perfect match for the contour. That'll go right there and fit around the bottom perfect. Put a little bit of weather stripping tape around it and that'll be money. So this brings us around to the passenger side. So you can see someone has done some patchwork here. Now, oddly enough, they did a pretty okay job up there. I mean, they welded it fully. It looks like it fits okay. But for whatever reason, they didn't weld any of this down here. You can see it just kind of like flops and moves around. So got to cut all that out, see what's actually under there. I've got some pieces from a truck which aren't the same, but we're going to make some stuff work. You see the jam here, the lip's missing for the weather strip. I've got another rocker will have that, and we're just going to put in part of this. I'll show you how to do that. No point of putting the whole rocker in because the rest of the rocker is solid. So I'm not going to put the whole thing in. Don't need it. Got some patchwork needs to be done here, but if you look across, this whole pan is just riddled with holes. Looks like Swiss cheese. It's no good. So I'm going to make a new passenger pan. Now, they do sell these pieces for a Blazer. I don't know what kind of quality they are. They're from a different manufacturer that I'm used to dealing with. So I'm just going to make my own. I'll walk you through that. It's real simple. And I'll show you how to replace all this stuff without going too overboard. So check it out. So here we go. Got everything cut out. Floor pan, rocker flange, inner rocker piece, and I went ahead and cut out some of the previous owner's work. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but he didn't tie the sheet metal into this brace, and then where he welded into here wasn't really good, so I just cut this section out. I'm gonna weld that back, make a better sheet metal piece to brace into here, because this is where the seat belt bolts up, and I cut his welds off to put mine on because I know mine will be stronger. So that's that. So yeah, we had to do an inner rocker section here. So here's the Auto Metal Direct number. They called it cab floor outer section. This is actually for a pickup truck, but it's close enough. It works. A little bit of cutting and grinding. I'll show you what we did. So this is what's left of it, and this will go in here like so, and it'll fit up there all across the back here. Obviously still got to do something back in there, and I'll plug weld it. You can see the holes. I'll plug weld that down into there. See the holes on the top. I'll plug weld those into there. This entire vehicle is put together with plug weld, so I have zero concern about doing that. It's what I do all the time. And then here's the rocker section. This was a whole outer rocker. Like I said, we didn't need the whole outer rocker, so I just cut this out. So it'll go in there like that. It's kind of hard to hold it perfect with one hand, but it fits really nice. The Auto Metal Direct stuff is pretty jam up, so got to put the other piece in first to give this somewhere to go. Weld this seam. I'll put a couple plug welds in the middle here to hold it to the other piece. And that'll give me some structure to go off of to build this and build my floor pan. So check that out. All right, day 2 got cut a little short. Had some stuff come up with the customer, so had to handle that. But let me show you where we got. So here's our new floor pan. What we did here is took the old one, laid it on top of a new sheet of metal, went up under the truck, traced where all the braces were so we know where to put our new spot welds. I'm going to cut this sheet. I cut it probably about 1.5 inches bigger than the original piece, and that gives me a flange to go through and spot weld it all in. Now I know a lot of people like to perimeter weld the entire pan, and that's fine, it's strong, it's whatever, but my thing is that is so time consuming as far as trimming, fitting, and welding. These entire trucks were put together spot weld. You can see where I chiseled the old ones out. I mean, that's the way they were factory, so I see nothing wrong with spot welding back in like this. It leaves you a nice seam to seam seal when you're done. So now that we got this cut, and this was 18 gauge, just regular steel from the local steel supply store, we're going to give her a coat of this Sim Copper Weld 40793. This is great stuff because once we, so this is the bottom. Once this goes down on top of this brace, there's no way we could ever put any kind of sealer or corrosion preventative here. So we just give this, give it one little coat of this stuff on here, and then you're good to go. Then when I seal the bottom of it, all this will be protected as well. And, like it says, copper weld is made to be welded. Won't interfere with any of that, so you're good to go. Also give it a good coat around the perimeter of where we're going into. Same reason, just don't want any kind of corrosion in between the panels. Okay, here we are at the end of day 2. And you'll just have to excuse my mess because it's been a long day. But we got all the metal in that side. Went ahead and put a rocker in this side. It had just 1 or 2 little spots, but I just put the whole thing in. This is something I intend to drive and enjoy, so I don't have to second guess it. This is pretty neat. So it had some extra holes where somebody had put a CB radio. Who knows what was in here. So welded all those up. But right here, you remember, this is where the 4-wheel drive actuator or, selector come through the floor. So it had that whole assembly. And this was the retaining ring that went under the floor. You see it's got little threaded bosses on it. And that's what held that in. Well, obviously we don't need that anymore. And I have no need for this huge hole. So I made this plate that'll go down like so. This will still come in through the bottom. We'll reuse the stock bolts into the stock plate. It'll be underneath, obviously. And voila, it's got a cover. It's removable for whatever reason I may remove it. Put it in the bead roller and put this little bit of a recess in it to match this factory recess here. Not that anyone will probably ever see this, but it makes me sleep a little better at night. So everything in here's done. All the metal's in, welded up. Now let's move around to the firewall. All right, so first things first, you'll notice cover the motor up. This is just a Harbor Freight welding blanket. You don't want any sparks, debris, or anything getting through there. But there's a chance that something can still get through here. So if you look, I actually have a sheet of plastic over the motor as well. So I put the plastic on first to keep all the dust and debris that may make it through this. And this is really thick stuff. It probably won't get through there, but just in case. And the motor's sealed up anyway, so it'll be fine. So on the firewall, so we talked about I'm going to do the Vintage Air SureFit kit. I'll no longer be needing any of these holes. This all can go away. The kit will have the heater core and AC lines come through in this area right here. I know that because I looked at another truck, so I'm not worried about blocking these off and then having to reuse them. It'll come through right here somewhere. So with that being said, we don't need any of this stuff. The kit comes with a really nice looking block off plate. If you don't know how to fabricate, it's a great option, but I know how to fabricate, so we're just not going to do that. This is where the blower motor used to sit. I made this little plate, so welded on there. It's got a little step in it to give it a little character, get a little more finished look. So weld that, and I'm going to leave the flange on it. Once again, I think it'll look kind of detailed, maybe OEM-ish. Also made a step flange plate for the large opening. It'll go in there like so. Hard to do with one hand, but you get the idea. So that'll go in there. That'll get welded up. You can see there's a factory flange right here. I'm going to leave this flange. I'm going to weld up all these little holes we don't need. Cut these factory. This was for a firewall insulator. This thing was a diesel, so it had this really thick firewall insulator that went on these studs. We don't need that. That's all going to go away. But I'm leaving the flange. I'm going to leave these little divots, these factory little indentions, because I want this to look factory-ish. Like it could have been a non-air truck, maybe. And the reason I did the step flanges, if you look over here on this side, you can see this side has a factory step flange little area. Now, I don't know. That's just what turns me on, so that's how it's going to get done. I haven't taken a lot of working video on the rockers or in the back because it's cramped, it's dark, my lighting's terrible, and you want to enjoy that. So with this being out front, we're going to do some actual working video. So enjoy it. If you like it, let me know. If you don't like it, let me know. Comment while you're at it. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, because this is my version of what a K5 should be. Check it out. So here's another pro tip for you guys. This. Old school fabricator taught me this a long time ago. You get a piece of copper pipe, okay? Flatten it. Put whatever shape, whatever bend you want. What this is going to allow you to do. So what this does, anytime you have a hole that is a little too large to plug weld, for instance, this little guy, no problem. We can weld him up. Not even an issue. This guy, right here, a little too big just to weld up. So, what you do, you take your copper pipe from the inside, and now you have a backer for your weld. You start by welding around the edges and you fill the hole. So, I mean, it's great to have a plug for stuff like that, but if you don't, you have a piece of copper pipe, take your time and you can weld it up, no problem. You'll see me use this a couple times across this firewall. And just like that, we're done. Come to find out, the camera only takes 5 minutes worth of time-lapse video. We're going to work on that. But as you can see here, we got it all welded up, ground down. Everything looks really good. Turned out exactly like I thought it was going to. Gonna give it that nice OE look. Everything welded in well. You'll see like there's little dark areas around. Most of that's just either a little bit of undercut from the weld, or it's a little bit the misalignment of the panel. I wasn't too overly worried about these because I knew I was going to body work the firewall anyway, and a little bit of filler doesn't hurt my feelings. So yeah, there it is. Start to a somewhat OEM firewall. Real happy with what I've got done. This is the week between Christmas and New Year's, and I've taken an entire week off just to clean up around here, which you can't tell. Work on this thing, you know, handle some stuff. So we're gonna make some good content this week, I think. We're gonna get this firewall bodywork and painting next. I've accidentally let the snowball roll downhill, and we're going to pull the doors off, really make the door jambs look nice. Yeah, that's probably all we're going to get done this week. But so stick around for the next one. Like I said before, like and subscribe. Leave a positive or negative comment, thumbs up or down. I'm not one of those people that's going to turn that off. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, what I shouldn't do. And yeah, we're going to move along and make this thing cool. So until next time, see you.